The Crystal Palace stood tall above the clouds of Draco Prime, shining like a giant diamond under three suns. Inside the massive building, Emperor Taeyong sat on his throne, his scales gleaming gold and crimson. He was the most powerful ruler in 3 galaxies. Everyone feared him. Everyone respected him. But today, the mighty emperor felt only sadness in his heart. His son, Prince Hanbin, was hidden away in the east wing of the palace. The prince had lived there for 15 years, away from the eyes of the empire. Nobody talked about him. Nobody asked questions. The servants who worked in that wing were sworn to silence. The reason was simple and painful. Prince Hanbin could not walk. He could not fly. For a Draconian, this was worse than death. Draconians were magnificent beings. They looked like the ancient dragons from Earth's old stories, but they walked on 2 legs like humans. Their scales came in every color imaginable. They had large wings that could carry them through the skies at incredible speeds. Their strength was legendary. Their pride was even greater. A Draconian who could not fly was considered cursed. A prince who could not walk was unthinkable. Emperor Taeyong had tried everything. The best doctors in the empire examined his son. They ran tests. They used advanced technology that could heal almost any injury. They gave him medicines made from rare plants found on distant worlds. Nothing worked. Hanbin's legs remained weak and thin. His beautiful wings, covered in scales that shimmer like opals, would not unfold properly. They dragged behind him like broken umbrellas. The emperor's council met every month. The old Draconians sat around a long table and discussed the future of the empire. They all said the same thing. Prince Hanbin could never rule. He should be replaced. Emperor Taeyong needed to choose a new heir. Some suggested his younger brother. Others mentioned distant cousins. The emperor refused them all, but he knew time was running out. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, a young woman named Minji stood in a crowded office. She held a paper in her shaking hands. The paper said she had been accepted for a job in the Draconian Empire. Minji could barely believe it. She had applied 6 months ago, never expecting to actually get chosen. Earth had joined the Galactic Coalition only 5 years earlier. Humans were still new to space travel. Most aliens looked down on them. They thought humans were primitive and weak. But humans were good workers. They were adaptable. They could survive in many different environments. So they often got hired for simple jobs across the galaxy. Minji needed this job desperately. Her family lived in a small apartment in Seoul. Her mother was sick. Her younger brother, Kyung-soo, needed special medicine that cost too much money. He had been born with weak legs, just like Prince Hanbin, though Minji did not know about the prince yet. The doctor said Kyung-soo would never walk, but Minji never gave up on him. She worked with him every day, helping him exercise his muscles. Slowly, very slowly, he was getting stronger. The job on Draco Prime paid well. Very well. Minji would earn more in 1 year than her father made in 10. She could send money home every month. Her mother could get treatment. Kyung-soo could get his medicine. It did not matter that she would be cleaning floors or washing dishes. It did not matter that she would be far from home. Her family needed her to do this. 2 weeks later, Minji arrived at Draco Prime. The planet was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Everything was huge. The buildings reached up into the clouds. The Draconians themselves were twice as tall as humans. Their voices were deep and powerful. When they spread their wings, they blocked out the sun. Minji felt very small and very alone. She was taken to the Crystal Palace with 20 other human workers. A strict Draconian supervisor named Young-ho explained the rules. They would work 12 hours each day. They would stay in the servant quarters. They would not speak unless spoken to. They would not ask questions. They would not gossip about what they saw in the palace. If they broke these rules, they would be sent back to Earth immediately. On her first day, Minji was given her assignment. The head servant, an old Draconian woman named Sora, took her to a quiet hallway in the east wing. The hallway was beautiful, but empty. Sunlight came through tall windows, making patterns on the marble floor. No other servants were around. Everything was silent. Sora stopped in front of a large door. "You will work here," she said in a cold voice. "You will bring meals 3 times each day. You will clean the rooms. You will wash the clothes. You will do these things quietly. You will not speak to the one who lives here. You will not ask questions. You will not tell anyone what you see. Do you understand?" Minji nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "The other servants refused this assignment," Sora continued. "They said it was bad luck. They said it was punishment. But you are human. You do not know enough to be afraid. That is good. Do your work and ask no questions." Sora handed Minji a key card and walked away. Her footsteps echoed in the empty hallway. Minji stood alone in front of the door. Her heart was beating fast. What was behind that door? What was so terrible that other servants refused to work here? She thought about her family. She thought about the money she needed to send home. She took a deep breath and used the key card. The door opened silently. Minji stepped into a large room. It was more like a small house than a bedroom. There was a sitting area with comfortable furniture. There was a study with thousands of books on shelves. There were windows that showed a beautiful view of the mountains. Everything was clean and expensive, but it felt sad somehow. It felt like a prison made of gold. Then Minji saw him. Prince Hanbin sat in a strange floating chair near the window. He was looking out the sky where other young draconians were flying, doing loops and tricks in the air. He did not turn around when Minji entered. Maybe he did not hear her. Maybe he did not care. Minji had never seen a draconian up close before. Hanbin was beautiful. His scales were like opals, changing colors in light. They went from pale blue to soft purple to gentle pink. His horns curved back gracefully from his head. His eyes, when he finally turned to look at her, were gold like sunrise. But there was deep sadness in those eyes, a loneliness that made Minji's heart hurt. His wings were folded against his back, but Minji could see they were magnificent. Each scale on his wings caught the light like a tiny mirror. But something was wrong. The wings seemed stiff. They did not move naturally. And when Hanbin shifted in his chair, Minji saw that his legs were thin. Too thin. They hung uselessly, not touching the floor. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Hanbin seemed surprised to see a human. Most of the palace servants were draconians. Minji was surprised by how young he looked. He could not be much older than her. Maybe 20 in human years. "You are the new servant," Hanbin said finally. His voice was soft and musical, not at all what Minji expected. He spoke perfect English, though with an accent that made the words sound like a song. "Yes, your highness," Minji said, bowing the way Sora had taught her. "My name is Minji. I am from Earth." "Earth," Hanbin repeated. "I have read about your world. It is very small, very far away." He turned back to the window. "You may do your work. I will not bother you." Other servants would have been happy with this. They would have cleaned quietly and left. But Minji was not like other servants. She had grown up taking care of her brother. She recognized that tone of voice. It was the voice of someone who had given up hope. Someone who believed they were a burden. Someone who thought they did not matter. "Your Highness," Minji said carefully, "is there anything special you need? Anything that would make you more comfortable?" Hanbin turned back to her, surprise clear on his face. "What?" "I am here to help you," Minji said. "Not just to clean. If there is anything you need, please tell me." For the first time in years, someone had asked Prince Hanbin what he needed. Someone had spoken to him like he was a person, not a problem to hide away. He did not know what to say. He stared at this small human woman with her kind eyes and gentle smile. Something tight in his chest began to loosen just a little bit. He started, then stopped. "I do not know." "That is okay," Minji said warmly. "I am here every day. If you think of something, you can tell me." She began her work, cleaning and organizing the rooms. Hanbin watched her. She worked efficiently but not frantically. She hummed softly to herself. She treated his belongings with respect but not fear. When she found one of his books on the floor, she picked it up carefully and asked where it should go. "The shelf by the window," Hanbin said. "This is a good book," Minji commented, looking at the cover. It was about ancient Earth history. Have you read many books about Earth? Many, Hanbin admitted. I read about all the worlds. Since I cannot visit them, I learn about them through books. There was no self-pity in his voice, just a simple statement of fact. But it made Minji sad anyway. She looked at him sitting in that floating chair, trapped in these beautiful rooms, reading about worlds he would never see. Your Highness, she said, may I ask you something? You may ask, Hanbin said. I might not answer. Do the doctors still try to help you? Hanbin's expression hardened. They tried for many years. They failed. There is nothing more they can do. I was born broken. Some things cannot be fixed. My brother was born with weak legs, too, Minji said softly. The doctors said he would never walk, but he is learning. It is slow, but he gets stronger every month. Hanbin looked at her with interest now. How? Exercise. Practice. Every day we work together. We make his muscles stronger. Minji paused. Has anyone tried that with you? Draconians do not do such things, Hanbin said. Our medicine is advanced. We use technology. We use genetic treatment. We do not use primitive methods. He said primitive without meanness. He was just stating what his people believed. But Minji smiled anyway. Sometimes the old ways work when the new ways fail, she said. That night, after Minji left, Prince Hanbin sat in his room thinking about what she said. He thought about her brother on distant Earth, fighting to walk. He thought about her offer to help. He looked down at his useless legs and his beautiful, broken wings. For the first time in many years, Prince Hanbin wondered if maybe, just maybe, there might be hope after all. Minji came to Prince Hanbin's rooms every day at the same times. She brought breakfast when the first sun rose. She brought lunch when all three suns were high in the sky. She brought dinner when the sky turned purple and gold. Between meals, she cleaned and organized, but mostly she watched and learned. She noticed many things that the Draconian doctors seemed to have missed. Hanbin never tried to move his legs, not even a little bit. When he needed to go somewhere, his floating chair did all the work. When he wanted to reach something, he used his arms or called a servant. His legs just hung there, getting weaker every day from not being used. His wings were the same. They stayed folded against his back all the time. Minji had seen other Draconians in the palace. Their wings moved constantly, even when they were not flying. The wings shifted and adjusted, like a human might shift their shoulders. But Hanbin's wings stayed completely still, frozen, like he was afraid to even try moving them. After 2 weeks of careful observation, Minji made a decision. She went to the palace library during her free time. The library was enormous, with thousands of books and data files from every world in the empire. Minji searched for information about Draconian biology. She learned about their muscles, their bones, their nervous system. She compared it to human anatomy. The similarities surprised her. Yes, Draconians had wings and scales. Yes, they were much bigger and stronger. But their muscles worked the same way human muscles did. They needed exercise to stay strong. They needed practice to develop coordination. If muscles were not used, they got weak and stopped working properly. Minji found reports from the royal doctors about Hanbin's condition. They had run every advanced test imaginable. They had scanned his brain, his spine, his muscles. They found no genetic defects, no diseases, no injuries. The doctors concluded that Hanbin's condition was a mystery, an unexplained medical phenomenon. They gave up trying to help him. But Minji saw something different in those reports. She saw a baby who had been weak at birth, a child who had been treated like he was made of glass, parents and doctors who were so afraid of hurting him that they never let him struggle, never let him try. They had kept him safe, but they had also kept him weak. It was just like Kyung-soo, her little brother. The doctors had told her parents to accept that he would never walk, but Minji refused to accept it. She researched physical therapy. She learned exercises. She worked with Kyung-soo every single day. It was hard. It was slow. There were many tears and frustrations. But month by month, year by year, Kyung-soo got stronger. He could stand now with help. He could take a few steps. The doctors called it impossible, but it was happening. Maybe the same thing could happen for Han-bin. One morning, Minji brought breakfast as usual. Han-bin was reading by the window. He had started talking to her more over the past weeks. He asked about Earth, about her family, about human culture. Minji answered his questions and asked her own. They had become something like friends, though neither of them said it out loud. "Your Highness," Minji said as she set down his tray, "may I ask you something personal?" Han-bin looked up from his book. "You may ask. Have the doctors ever tried physical therapy with you? Exercise and movement to make your muscles stronger?" Han-bin frowned. "They have tried many treatments. Gene therapy, nerve stimulation, cellular regeneration, all the most advanced methods." "Yes, but have they tried simple exercise? Moving your legs every day? Stretching your wings?" "That is too primitive," Han-bin said. "Draconian medicine is far beyond such basic methods. We do not need them." "But did they try?" Minji pressed gently. Han-bin was quiet for a moment. "No," he finally admitted. "They said it would not work. They said my condition required advanced solutions." "What if they were wrong?" Minji asked. "What if your muscles just need to be trained? Like learning to play music or learning to read. Your body knows how to work. Maybe it just needs practice." Han-bin stared at her. Hope and fear fought in his golden eyes. "You think you can help me? You, a human, can do what the greatest doctors in the Empire could not." "I do not know if I can help," Minji said honestly. "But I help my brother. I know it is possible for weak muscles to become strong. I know it is possible to learn things that seem impossible. If you're willing to try, I am willing to help." "Why?" Han-bin asked. "Why would you do this? It is not your job. No one is asking you to. If you fail, you might be blamed. You might lose your position." Minji smiled. "Because I see you sitting here every day, watching others fly through the sky. I see the sadness in your eyes. If there is even a small chance I can help you walk, help you fly, then I have to try. That is what humans do. We do not give up easily." Han-bin felt something strange happening in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize the feeling. It was hope, real hope, for the first time in many years. This small human woman believed she could help him. Maybe she was foolish. Maybe she would fail, but she was willing to try. No one else had been willing for a very long time. "What would we do?" he asked quietly. "We start small," Minji explained. "First, I need to see if you can feel your legs. If the nerves are working, then we do simple movements. Just trying to move your toes, your ankles. Little by little, we wake up the muscles. We make them remember how to work. It sounds painful. It will be," Minji admitted, "and frustrating. There will be many days when you want to give up. But if you keep trying, I believe you can get stronger." Han-bin looked down at his legs. He had hated them for so long. They were a constant reminder of his failure, of his shame. The thought of trying to use them, of failing again and again, was terrifying. But the thought of spending the rest of his life in this chair was worse. "When do we start?" he asked. "Right now, if you want." Minji helped Han-bin move from his floating chair to a padded mat on the floor. It was awkward, embarrassing. Han-bin had not been on the floor in years. He felt vulnerable and exposed. But Minji treated him with respect and dignity. She did not pity him. She just worked efficiently, making sure he was comfortable. "Now," she said, kneeling beside him, "I am going to touch your leg. Tell me if you can feel it." She pressed gently on his foot. "Can you feel that?" "Yes," Han-bin said, surprised. "I can feel it." "Good. That means your nerves work. Now, I want you to try to move your toes. Just try. It does not matter if they actually move. Just try." Han-bin concentrated. He tried to remember what it felt like to move his toes. Nothing happened. He tried harder. Still nothing. Frustration built inside him. I cannot, he said. That is okay. Try again. Sometimes it takes many attempts before anything happens. Hanbin tried again, and again, and again. His toes did not move, not even a twitch. After 20 minutes, he was exhausted and discouraged. This is pointless, he said bitterly. I told you it would not work. Did you learn to read in one day? Minji asked calmly. What? When you were young, learning to read, did you look at a book and immediately understand it? No, of course not. It took months of practice. This is the same. Your muscles have not worked in 15 years. They need time to remember. We will try again tomorrow. And the next day, and the day after that. Every day we will try. Over the following weeks, they fell into a routine. Every morning, before anyone else was awake, Minji would come to Hanbin's rooms. They would work together for an hour, trying to move his toes, his feet, his ankles. The progress was impossibly slow. Some days, nothing happened at all. But Minji never lost patience. She encouraged him, celebrated the tiniest movements, refused to let him give up. After 3 weeks, Hanbin's big toe twitched. It was barely noticeable, just a tiny movement, but it was real. Hanbin stared at his foot in amazement. Minji laughed with joy. You did it. I saw it move. I felt it, Hanbin said, his voice full of wonder. I actually felt it move. From that day, progress came faster. Within another week, Hanbin could wiggle all his toes. Then he could flex his foot up and down. The movements were small and weak, but they were real. His muscles were waking up after years of sleep. Minji also started working on his wings. She would carefully extend them, stretching the muscles, moving the joints. At first, Hanbin could not move them at all on his own, but Minji was patient. She massaged the wing muscles. She helped him practice tiny movements, over and over. One morning, a servant named Do-Hyen knocked on Hanbin's door during their exercise session. Do-Hyen was another human from Earth, working in the palace gardens. He and Minji had become friends. When he entered and saw what they were doing, his eyes went wide. What is happening here? He whispered. Minji quickly explained. Do-Hyen listened, then grinned. I know about building strength, he said. I work with plants and heavy equipment. I can help. From then on, Do-Hyen joined their morning sessions. He brought knowledge about gradual strength building, about how to push hard enough to make progress, but not so hard as to cause injury. Between Minji's therapeutic knowledge and Do-Hyen's practical strength training, they created a complete program for Hanbin. The prince began to change, not just physically. Though his legs were definitely getting stronger, he changed in his spirit too. He smiled more. He laughed. He looked forward to each morning session, even though the work was hard and often painful. For the first time in his life, Hanbin felt like he was moving forward instead of just existing. But they were working in secret. No one knew what they were doing in those early morning hours. Not the other servants, not the doctors, and certainly not Emperor Taeyong. That secret could not last forever. One morning, Emperor Taeyong decided to visit his son. It was a rare occurrence. The emperor loved Hanbin, but seeing his broken son caused him too much pain. So he stayed away most of the time. But today, guilt drove him to Hanbin's rooms. He used his key and entered without knocking. He expected to find Hanbin in his floating chair, reading or staring out the window. Instead, he found his son standing, actually standing on his own 2 feet, with Minji supporting him under his arms. Hanbin's legs were shaking violently from the effort, but he was upright. His face showed intense concentration and determination. What is this? Emperor Taeyong roared. Hanbin nearly fell from surprise, but Minji held him steady. Father, Hanbin gasped. I can explain. Explain? Explain what? What is this human doing to you? She is helping me. Father, look at my legs. I can stand. I can move my feet. My toes. After all these years, I am getting stronger. Emperor Taeyong looked at his son's trembling legs, at the determination in Hanbin's eyes, at the human woman who held him with gentle strength. Part of him wanted to believe, wanted to hope, but he was also angry, afraid. What if this human was giving his son false hope? What if she was making things worse? This is unauthorized, the Emperor said coldly. You, he pointed at Minji, are dismissed. Leave immediately. No, Hanbin said firmly. Father, please. For the first time in my life, I have hope. Minji has done more for me in a few weeks than all the royal doctors did in 15 years. Please do not take this away from me. Emperor Taeyong looked at his son, really looked at him. He saw strength there that had never existed before, not just in Hanbin's body, but in his spirit. His son was fighting. His son believed he could win. I will call the royal doctors, the Emperor said finally. They will examine you. They will determine if this human's methods are helping or harming you. Until then, everything stops. It was not the answer Hanbin wanted, but it was better than losing Minji completely. He nodded. Yes, father. As Emperor Taeyong left, Hanbin and Minji exchanged worried looks. Everything they had worked for now depended on what the doctors would say. Their secret was out. Now they could only hope that the impossible progress they had made would be enough to convince the Emperor and his doctors to let them continue. The royal examination room was cold and sterile. Bright light shone down on Prince Hanbin as 5 of the Empire's best doctors examined him. They ran their scanners over his body. They took measurements. They asked him to move his toes, his feet, his legs. Emperor Taeyong watched from the observation window above, his face unreadable. Minji stood in the corner of the room, her hands clasped tightly together. She was not supposed to be there, but Hanbin had insisted. He told his father that Minji needed to explain what they had been doing. The Emperor had allowed it, though he was clearly not happy about it. The head doctor was an old Draconian named Dr. Jaiwan. She had been treating Hanbin since he was a baby. She had been one of the doctors who declared his condition untreatable. Now she studied the test results with a frown on her scale face. This is remarkable, Dr. Jaiwan said finally. Your muscle tone has improved significantly. Your neural pathways show increased activity. You have regained approximately 30% function in your lower limbs. Then the human's methods are working? Hanbin asked hopefully. The data shows improvement, yes, Dr. Jaiwan admitted, but I am concerned about the approach. Physical therapy is crude and outdated. There are risks of injury, strain, overexertion. Our advanced treatments are safer and more controlled. Your advanced treatments did nothing for 15 years, Hanbin said, his voice sharp. Minji's crude methods gave me movement in 3 weeks. Dr. Jaiwan's frills flared in irritation, but she could not argue with the facts. The tests clearly showed improvement. Emperor Taeyong descended from the observation room, his heavy footsteps echoing in the chamber. Explain to me how this happened, the Emperor demanded, looking at Minji. What did you do that our doctors could not? Minji took a deep breath. She was terrified, but she forced herself to speak clearly. Your Majesty, the Draconian doctors look for a medical problem to fix. They search for disease or genetic defects. But Prince Hanbin does not have a medical problem. He has weak muscles from not using them. Just like if you stayed in bed for 15 years, your muscles would stop working too. Are you saying my son is simply lazy? Emperor Taeyong's voice was dangerous. No, Your Majesty. I am saying he was never taught to use his muscles. As a baby, he was weak. Everyone was afraid to push him, afraid to let him struggle. So his muscles never developed properly. But muscles can be trained at any age. It just takes time and practice. Humans have experience with this, Dohayan added. He had snuck into the room behind Minji. On Earth, we have many people born with weak muscles or damaged nerves. We help them with therapy and exercise, not because our medicine is better than yours, but because we do not have your advanced technology, so we learned other ways. Dr. Jaiwan looked thoughtful. There is logic to this theory. We focus on cellular and genetic treatments. We never considered simple muscle atrophy because it seemed too basic, too primitive. Sometimes the simplest answer is the correct one, Minji said quietly. Emperor Taeyong was silent for a long moment. He looked at his son, who was sitting on the examination table. Hanbin's legs were thin, yes, but they were not hanging lifelessly anymore. There was tension in them, strength, however small. "If we allow this to continue," the Emperor said slowly, "what results can you promise?" "I cannot promise anything, Your Majesty," Minji answered honestly. "Every person is different, but I believe Prince Hanbin can walk. I believe he can fly. It will take months, maybe years, but I believe it is possible. Belief is not enough. I need proof." "The proof is in the test results," Hanbin said. "Father, I am stronger than I was a month ago. Give us more time. Let us continue." Emperor Taeyong looked at Dr. Jaiwan. "Your professional opinion?" The doctor hesitated. Professional pride warred with scientific curiosity in her eyes. "The improvement is undeniable. I recommend we allow the therapy to continue under medical supervision. We can monitor the prince's progress and ensure no harm is done." "Very well," Emperor Taeyong said, "but I have conditions. Minji, you will be given the official title of Royal Therapist. You will report to Dr. Jaiwan weekly. You will follow safety protocols. And you will have 3 months to show significant improvement." 3 months. Minji's heart sank. That was not much time. "In 3 months, we hold the Imperial Festival," Emperor Taeyong continued. "Representatives from all 3 galaxies will attend. The Council has been pressuring me to name a new heir. I have been resisting, but I cannot hold him off forever. If Hanbin can demonstrate real progress at the festival, I can silence them. If not, then I will have to consider their demands." The weight of this deadline pressed down on everyone in the room. 3 months to achieve what might take years. But it was better than nothing. It was a chance. "I accept your terms, Your Majesty," Minji said, bowing deeply. "As do I, Father," Hanbin added. Over the next weeks, their training intensified. Minji was given proper equipment. A physical therapy room was set up in Hanbin's wing. Dr. Jaiwan assigned 2 of her junior doctors to assist and monitor the sessions. At first, they were skeptical, but as they watched Hanbin's progress, they became genuinely interested in the human methods. Hanbin worked harder than he had ever worked in his life. Every morning, he practiced walking between parallel bars. His legs shook with effort. He fell many times. But each day, he could take 1 or 2 more steps than the day before. His muscles were growing stronger and more coordinated. Minji pushed him, but she also knew when to stop. She understood the difference between productive pain and harmful pain. She taught Hanbin to listen to his body, to understand his limits while also pushing past them. Do-Hyen helped create a training schedule. He brought weights from the garden equipment and modified them for Hanbin's use. Start light, build gradually. The same principles that work for growing plants work for growing strength. Patience, consistency, not too much, not too little, just right. But walking was only half the challenge. Hanbin also needed to fly. His wings had been motionless for so long that the muscles were severely atrophied. Just extending them fully caused pain. The idea of actually using them to achieve flight seemed impossible. "We need a different approach for the wings," Minji said one day. She had been researching and thinking about this problem. On Earth, when people are learning to parachute or do aerial stunts, they use harnesses. The harness supports their weight while they practice the movements. We could do something similar for you. "A harness?" Hanbin looked uncertain. "It would hold you up so you are not afraid of falling. You could practice moving your wings, building the muscles without risk of injury. Once you are strong enough, we remove the harness." Dr. Jaiwan approved the plan. The palace engineers built a special harness system in the largest room of Hanbin's wing. Cables attached to the ceiling could support Hanbin's full weight. He could be suspended in the air, safe and secure, while he practiced wing movements. The first time they tried it, Hanbin was nervous. He had not been off the ground since he was a baby. Being suspended in the air, even safely, felt strange and frightening. But Minji was there, encouraging him. Do-Hyen was there, checking the equipment. The doctors were there, monitoring his vital signs. "Try to extend your wings," Minji called up to him. Hanbin concentrated. Slowly, painfully, his wings began to unfold. They had practiced this movement on the ground many times, but doing it while hanging in the air was different. His wings spread wider, wider, until they reached their full magnificent span. The scales caught the light, creating rainbows across the room. "Beautiful," Minji whispered. "Now try to move them," Dohyen called, "like you are swimming through the air." Hanbin tried to move his wings the way he had seen other draconians do it. The first attempts were clumsy and uncoordinated. His wings flapped awkwardly, not producing any lift. It was frustrating and embarrassing, but he kept trying. Days turned into weeks. Hanbin's progress was steady but slow. He could walk now, though he needed support and could not go far. His wings were stronger, and he was beginning to understand how to move them properly. But the festival deadline loomed closer every day. 2 weeks before the festival, Emperor Taeyong visited the training room. He had stayed away, trusting Dr. Jaiwan's reports, but unable to watch his son struggle. Now he needed to see for himself how much progress Hanbin had made. He arrived during a walking session. Hanbin was moving between the parallel bars without any help. His steps were slow and careful, but they were real steps. His father watched in silence as Hanbin made it from one end of the bars to the other, then turned around and walked back. When Hanbin reached the end, breathing hard from the effort, he looked up and saw his father. Their eyes met. Emperor Taeyang's face showed emotions he usually kept hidden: pride, joy, sadness for all the lost years, hope for the future. "Show me your wings," the emperor said quietly. They moved to the harness room. Hanbin was strapped in and lifted into the air. He extended his wings to their full span, then began to move them in the swimming motion he had been practicing. The movements were not perfect, but they were controlled and deliberate. This was not a broken prince. This was a warrior in training. Emperor Taeyong watched for several minutes, then raised his hand. The attendants lowered Hanbin back to the ground. The emperor walked over to his son and, for the first time in many years, embraced him. "You have done well, my son," he said. "Better than I dared to hope." "I had help, father," Hanbin replied, looking at Minji and Dohyen. "I could not have done this alone." Emperor Taeyong looked at the two humans. These small, primitive beings from a backward planet had achieved what the Empire's best doctors could not. It was humbling. It was also illuminating. "The festival is in 2 weeks," the emperor said. "Can you walk unaided by then? Can you fly?" "I can walk short distances now," Hanbin said honestly. "But flying? I do not know. I am stronger, but I have not actually left the ground yet." "Then that is our goal," Minji said with determination. 2 weeks. We will work every day. We will get you flying." "We might not have enough time," Dr. Jaiwan cautioned. "Flight requires significant strength and coordination. Perhaps the prince should simply demonstrate walking at the festival. That alone would be impressive enough." "No," Hanbin said firmly. "I will fly, even if it is just for a moment, even if I fall afterward. I will show the council and the empire that I am not broken, that I am worthy to be heir." Minji smiled at the determination in his voice. This was not the sad, hopeless prince she had met 3 months ago. This was a young man who had discovered his own strength, who had learned that limits could be overcome, who believed in himself. "Then we will make you fly," she promised. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of Hanbin's life. They trained every spare moment. Walking practice, wing exercises, strength building, balance work. Minji even consulted with flying draconians, learning the techniques they used, adapting them for a Hanbin situation. 3 days before the festival, they removed the harness. Hanbin stood on a platform in the large training room. Minji and Dohyen stood below, ready to catch him if needed. Dr. Jaiwan and her team monitored from the sides. Emperor Taeyong watched from the doorway, though Hanbin did not know he was there. "You are ready," Minji called up to him. "Trust yourself. Trust your wings." Hanbin spread his wings. He bent his legs, feeling the strength in them that had not existed months ago. He thought about all the work he had done, all the pain, all the small victories. He thought about Minji's faith in him, about his father's hope. about his own desperate desire to fly. He jumped. For a moment, he fell. Then his wings caught the air. He beat them once, twice, and suddenly he was rising. He was flying, actually flying. The room blurred around him as tears filled his eyes. He could feel the air beneath his wings, feel the power of his muscles, feel the impossible becoming real. He only stayed airborne for a few seconds before exhaustion forced him down. Minji and Do-Hyen caught him, all three of them laughing and crying at once. From the doorway, Emperor Taeyong smiled. The impossible had been achieved. Now they just had to show the Empire. The day of the Imperial Festival arrived with brilliant sunshine across all three suns. The grand arena of Draker Prime was filled with thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds. Draconians in their finest scales sat alongside representatives from the insectoid hive worlds, the crystalline luminari, and dozens of other species. Everyone wore their best clothing and jewelry. The air buzzed with excitement and conversation. In the royal preparation chamber beneath the arena, Prince Hanbin stood before a tall mirror. He wore ceremonial armor made of silver and blue metal, designed to display rather than protect. His scales had been polished until they gleamed. His horns had been decorated with thin bands of gold. He looked every bit the royal prince he was born to be, but his hands were shaking. "You will do fine," Minji said softly. She stood beside him, wearing new clothes that Emperor Taeyong had given her. Instead of servant robes, she now wore a formal outfit in human style, marking her new position as royal therapist. "You have flown dozens of times in practice this week." In private, Hanbin said, "With just you and Do-Hyen watching, this will be different. Thousands of eyes on me. What if I fail in front of everyone? What if I fall?" "Then you get up and try again," Minji replied, "just like you have done every day for 3 months. Falling does not make you weak. Giving up makes you weak. You are not weak anymore." Do-Hyen entered the chamber, carrying a tray with water and nutritional supplements. "The arena is completely full," he reported. "I have never seen so many people in one place. The council members are sitting in the front section. They do not look happy." "They want me to fail," Hanbin said bitterly. "They have already chosen who they want as the next heir. My cousin Seojun. He is strong, a great flyer, a skilled warrior. Everything I am not." "Everything you are not," Minji corrected. "You are different now. You have earned the right to be here. Remember that." Emperor Taeyong entered the chamber, his presence filling the room. He wore his full imperial regalia, a crown of crystal and metal that caught the light. His ceremonial robes were deep red with gold embroidery. He looked like what he was, the most powerful ruler in 3 galaxies. "The council is demanding I make the announcement before your demonstration," Emperor Taeyong said to the sun. "They want me to name Seojun as heir and dismiss you from succession. They say that even if you can walk and fly, you have been hidden too long. The Empire needs a strong, proven heir." Hanbin's shoulders slumped. "So it does not matter what I do today? They have already decided." "I have not decided," Emperor Taeyong said firmly. "I am still emperor. My word is law. But I need you to give me a reason to defy the council. Show them something they cannot deny. Show them you are worthy." "I will try, father." "Do not try. Succeed." Emperor Taeyong's voice was hard, but then he softened. He placed a hand on Hanbin's shoulder. "I believe in you, my son. For the first time in many years, I truly believe. Now make the Empire believe too." The Emperor left to take his place in the royal box. Hanbin, Minji, and Do-Hyen stood in the preparation chamber, listening to the sounds of the crowd above. They could hear the announcements beginning, the festival opening ceremony, the traditional songs and displays. "It is almost time," an attendant said, appearing at the door. "Prince Hanbin, you are to enter when the Emperor gives the signal." Minji hugged Hanbin quickly. "Remember everything we practiced. Trust your body. Trust your training. You can do this." Do-Hyen clasped Hanbin's arm in the human gesture of friendship. "Show them what humans and Draconians can achieve together. Make us proud." Then Hanbin was alone. He walked slowly toward the arena entrance, his legs steady beneath him. 3 months ago, He could not walk at all. Now he was walking toward his destiny. He reached the great doors and waited. In the arena above, Emperor Taeyong stood in the royal box. His voice was amplified by technology, so everyone could hear him clearly. Citizens of the Empire, honored guests from across the galaxies. Today we celebrate our strength and our unity. But before the festivities begin, there is an important matter to address. The crowd grew quiet. Everyone knew the emperor would speak about the succession question. Rumors had been spreading for weeks about the hidden prince. Some said he was deformed. Others said he was dead. Very few knew the truth. Many of you have heard whispers about my son, Prince Hanbin, the emperor continued. Some of you question his fitness to rule. Some suggest he should be passed over in favor of another. Today, I will let you judge for yourselves. I present to you the crown prince of the Draconian Empire. The great doors opened. Music began to play. Hanbin walked out into the arena. The crowd gasped. They had expected a broken prince in a floating chair or carried on a litter. Instead, they saw a young Draconian walking on his own feet. His steps were careful and measured, but they were real steps. His wings were folded properly against his back, moving slightly with each breath. He held his head high. Hanbin walked across the arena floor toward the center. It was the longest walk of his life. Every step felt like it might be his last. His legs trembled from effort and nervousness. But he kept going. He did not stumble. He did not fall. He reached the center of the arena and stopped. The crowd was completely silent now. Thousands of beings watched, waiting to see what would happen next. In the royal box, Emperor Taeyong gripped the railing tightly. In the preparation area, Minji and Do-Hyun held hands, barely breathing. Hanbin looked up at his father in the royal box. He saw pride in Emperor Taeyong's eyes. He saw hope. He thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. The years of loneliness, Minji's kindness, the painful training, the small victories, the determination to be more than what everyone expected. He spread his wings. They extended to their full span, easily 12 meters from tip to tip. The scales caught the light from all three suns, creating a display of colors that rippled across the arena. The crowd murmured in appreciation. The wings were beautiful. Even those who doubted Hanbin could admit that. But beautiful wings meant nothing if they could not fly. Hanbin bent his legs, feeling the strength in his muscles. He remembered Minji's instructions. Do not think too much. Trust your instincts. Your body knows what to do. He took a deep breath and jumped. His wings beat down, catching the air. Once, twice, he rose from the ground. He was flying. The crowd exploded in shocked exclamations. Hanbin beat his wings again, rising higher. The movements were not as smooth as experienced flyers. His technique was rough, but he was flying under his own power. He circled the arena once, staying relatively low. His wing muscles were burning with effort. He could feel his strength fading, but he pushed through the pain. He completed the circle and aimed for the royal box. He wanted to land in front of his father, to show him directly what he had achieved. Hanbin approached the royal box, his wings straining. He was so tired. His vision was starting to blur. Just a little further. Just a little more. He reached the box and tried to land gracefully on the platform beside his father. His legs gave out. He stumbled, almost falling. Strong hands caught him. Emperor Taeyong had moved faster than anyone thought possible, catching his son before he could collapse. Father and son stood together, Hanbin leaning on Taeyong for support, both of them breathing hard. The arena remained silent for 3 heartbeats. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Then the entire arena erupted in applause and cheers that shook the very foundations of the building. Draconians roared their approval. Other species made their own sounds of celebration. The noise was deafening. Emperor Taeyong helped Hanbin to a seat, then raised his hand for silence. It took several minutes for the crowd to quiet down. When they finally did, the emperor's voice rang out clearly. You have seen with your own eyes what my son has accomplished. 3 months ago, he could not walk. Today, he flew before you all. He has proven his strength. He has proven his determination. He has proven his worthiness. The emperor paused, looking directly at the council members in the front section. Prince Hanbin is and shall remain my heir. Anyone who questions this may challenge me directly. No one spoke. The council members looked at each other, but none of them dared argue. They had seen the impossible happen. A prince who could not walk or fly had done both in front of the entire empire. What argument could stand against that? Furthermore, Emperor Taeyong continued, I wish to recognize those who made this miracle possible. Minji of Earth stepped forward. Minji had been watching from the preparation area entrance. Now attendants guided her out into the arena. She felt small and exposed under so many staring eyes. She walked to the royal box and bowed deeply before the emperor. Minji, you came to our empire as a simple servant, Emperor Taeyong said. But you saw what our greatest doctors missed. You believed when others had given up. You gave my son not just the ability to walk and fly, but something far more valuable. You gave him hope. For this, I grant you the title of Royal Therapist, First Class, with all the honors and privileges that entails. You shall have apartments in the palace, a generous salary, and the authority to establish a medical training program, sharing your methods with our physicians. The crowd applauded again. Minji felt tears in her eyes. She had come to Draker Prime desperate, to help her family. She had never imagined anything like this. Dohayan of Earth stepped forward, the emperor called. Dohayan came out, looking nervous but proud. He bowed before the emperor. You also contributed to my son's recovery. Your knowledge of strength building and your loyal assistance made a difference. I appoint you as assistant royal therapist and supervisor of the new training facility we will construct. More applause. Dohayan grinned widely. Emperor Taeyong raised his hand once more. Let this day be remembered, not just for my son's achievement, but for what it represents. Humans are new to our coalition. Many species look down on them as primitive, but these two humans achieved what our advanced medicine could not. They did so not through superior technology, but through determination, creativity, and compassion. Let this be a lesson to all of us. Wisdom can come from unexpected places. Strength takes many forms. And sometimes the old ways work when the new ways fail. The crowd roared approval. Hanbin watched from his seat, exhausted but happier than he had ever been. He caught Minji's eye and smiled. She smiled back. 3 months ago, they were prince and servant. Now they were partners who had changed the empire together. The festival continued with demonstrations of flying skills, martial competitions, and cultural performances from dozens of worlds. But everyone agreed that nothing could match the drama of Prince Hanbin's flight. The image of him soaring across the arena would be remembered for generations. That evening, there was a formal banquet in the palace. Hanbin sat at the high table with his father, wearing lighter clothing now that the ceremony was over. Minji and Dohayan sat at a table of honor nearby, surrounded by curious nobles asking questions about their methods. Dr. Jaiwan approached Minji during the meal. The old doctor bowed respectfully, something she never would have done 3 months ago to a human servant. I must admit, Dr. Jaiwan said, I was wrong. We were all wrong. We became so focused on advanced treatments that we forgot the fundamentals. You have taught us a valuable lesson. I would be honored if you would help me train the next generation of draconian physicians in your techniques. I would be happy to, Minji replied, but I am not trying to replace your medicine. The best approach combines both, your technology and diagnostics with our rehabilitation methods. Together, they are stronger than either alone. Wise words, Dr. Jaiwan agreed. You think like a true doctor. As the banquet continued, Hanbin slipped away from the high table. He was tired, his muscles aching from the day's exertion, but he wanted a moment of quiet. He walked slowly to a balcony overlooking the city. The lights of Draker Prime sparkled below like stars. Minji found him there a few minutes later. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city. Thank you, Hanbin said finally, for everything, for believing in me when no one else did. You did the hard work, Minji replied. I just showed you the path. You walked it yourself. We make a good team, Hanbin said. Human and draconian. Different but stronger together. Yes, Minji agreed. We do. They stood together under the stars, two unlikely friends who had achieved the impossible. The dragon prince could walk and fly. The human maid had changed an empire, and this was only the beginning of what they would accomplish together. 2 years passed since the Imperial Festival that changed everything. The Crystal Palace looked the same from the outside, but inside, many things had transformed. The East Wing was no longer a place of isolation and sadness. It had become the center for rehabilitation medicine, the most advanced facility of its kind in 3 galaxies. Minji walked through the bright hallways of the center, checking on patients. A young Draconian girl practiced walking between parallel bars, her parents watching with hopeful eyes. An elderly being from the Luminary worlds worked on regaining movement after an injury. A hive soldier learned to use a prosthetic limb. Dozens of patients from dozens of worlds, all receiving care that combined Draconian technology with human therapeutic methods. Dr. Jaiwan met Minji in the main therapy room. The old doctor had changed too over the past 2 years. She no longer looked at human methods with suspicion. Instead, she had become one of their strongest advocates. The new wing will be completed next month, Dr. Jaiwan reported. We will be able to treat twice as many patients, and we have received requests from 15 other worlds asking us to help them establish similar centers. That is wonderful, Minji said, checking the schedule on her datapad. Have you reviewed the application for the training program? Yes. We have over 300 physicians from across the coalition wanting to learn our methods. We can only accept 50 in this session. Minji smiled. When she first suggested teaching Draconian doctors about physical therapy, many had laughed. Now physicians from advanced civilizations competed for the chance to learn from humans. Earth's reputation had changed dramatically. Humans were no longer seen as primitive. They were seen as innovative problem solvers. Dohayan appeared in the doorway, slightly out of breath. Minji, you need to come to the flight training area. Something amazing is happening. They hurried to the large indoor space where patients practiced using wings or flying equipment. In the center of the room, a small Draconian child floated in the harness system that Minji had originally designed for Hanbin. The child was maybe 5 years old, born with wings that had never worked properly. She had been at the center for only 2 months. Now, suspended safely in the harness, the little girl was flapping her wings. Not randomly, but with purpose and coordination. Her parents stood below, crying and laughing at the same time. The child looked down at them and squealed with delight. First time she has moved them properly, the attending physician explained to Minji. She saw Prince Hanbin flying outside this morning, and suddenly something clicked. She wanted to fly like the prince. Minji felt tears in her own eyes. This was why she did this work. These moments when the impossible became possible. When a child who was told she would never fly suddenly discovered she could. Prince Hanbin himself entered the flight training area at that moment. He had been out practicing aerial maneuvers with the Royal Guard, something he did every morning now. His flying skills had improved dramatically. He was not the best flyer in the Empire, but he was good. More importantly, he loved it. The joy of flight never faded for him. He saw the little girl in the harness and immediately understood what was happening. He flew up to her level, hovering nearby with powerful wing beats. You are doing wonderfully, he told the child. Keep practicing every day. Soon you will fly free like me. The girl's eyes went wide. The crown prince himself was encouraging her. She flapped her wings even harder. Later, Hanbin walked with Minji through the palace gardens. This was their routine. After his morning flight practice and her rounds at the center, they would meet and walk together, discussing the day ahead. Their friendship had deepened into something neither of them had quite named. They simply knew they were important to each other. I have news from Earth, Minji said. My brother Kyungsu is coming to visit. The travel permit was finally approved. That is excellent. I have wanted to meet him. You talk about him often. He is excited to meet you too. He says you are his inspiration. When therapy was difficult, my mother would tell him about the prince who learned to walk and fly. It gave him motivation to keep trying. Hanbin felt warmth in his chest. His story was helping others. The shame he once felt about his condition had transformed into purpose. How is his progress? He can walk with assistance now. Not far, but real steps. The doctors on Earth are using the methods we developed here. It is working. Minji paused. He wants to stay here for a while, to receive treatment at the center, and maybe to study. He is fascinated by cross-species medicine. Then he should stay as long as he needs. We can arrange everything. They reached Minji's favorite spot in the garden, a bench under a flowering tree. The blossoms were blue and gold, colors that reminded her of both Earth sky and Hanbin scales. They sat together, enjoying the peaceful moment. Do you ever regret it? Hanbin asked suddenly. Leaving Earth? Leaving your old life? Minji thought about it. Sometimes I miss my family. I miss Earth food and Earth rain. But no, I do not regret coming here. I found my purpose. I found work that matters. I found true friendship. She looked at him. What about you? Do you regret the years you spent isolated? I used to, Hanbin admitted. I was angry about all the lost time. But now I see it differently. Those difficult years taught me compassion. They taught me that everyone struggles with something. When I meet patients at the center, I understand their pain. I can give them real hope because I lived through it myself. So no, I do not regret it anymore. It made me who I am. A message alert chimed on Minji's communicator. She checked it and smiled. Your father wants to see us. Both of us. In the throne room. They made their way to the grand throne room where Emperor Taeyong conducted official business. The emperor sat on his throne, but he stood when they entered. Several council members were present, including some who had opposed Hanbin's succession 2 years ago. Ah, good. You are both here, Emperor Taeyong said. I have an announcement. The Galactic Coalition Council has voted to make the Rehabilitation Center an official coalition facility. They will provide funding and resources. They want to establish similar centers on 50 major worlds across 3 galaxies. Minji's eyes went wide. 50 centers? Your methods have proven successful beyond anyone's expectations, one of the council members said. It was Elder Chunho, who had been one of Hanbin's strongest critics. Now he spoke with respect. Beings from hundreds of species have benefited from the care here. The Coalition recognizes the value of what you have created. There is more, Emperor Taeyong continued. The Coalition wishes to appoint an ambassador for medical advancement, someone who can travel between worlds, teaching these methods, establishing standards, ensuring quality care. Minji, they want you for this position. The room seemed to spin. Ambassador. It was one of the highest honors in the Coalition. Your Majesty, I do not know what to say. You can say yes, Hanbin said quietly beside her. You have earned this. You have changed medicine across 3 galaxies. You should have the authority and resources to do even more. But the center here, the patients, I cannot abandon them. You would not abandon them, Dr. Jaiwin said, stepping forward. Minji had not noticed her in the room. I can manage the center here. Do Hyen can oversee the training programs. You have taught us well. We can continue your work while you expand it to other worlds. Minji looked at all the faces watching her. The Emperor, the council members, Dr. Jaiwin, Hanbin. 2 years ago, she had been a simple maid, invisible and unimportant. Now the most powerful beings in the galaxy were asking her to be an ambassador. I accept, she said. It would be an honor. The council members bowed to her in the draconian gesture of respect. Emperor Taeyong smiled. Then it is settled. You will be formally appointed at next month's Coalition Summit. Until then, you should prepare. An ambassador must have proper staff, proper resources, proper accommodations. After the meeting, Hanbin and Minji walked out onto a high balcony. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Ships moved through the sky, traveling between the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of possibilities. This means you will travel constantly, Hanbin said, visiting different worlds, teaching, establishing centers. You will barely be here. I know. Minji felt torn. This opportunity was amazing, but it meant leaving Hanbin, leaving the place that had become home. You must go, Hanbin said firmly. This is your destiny. You have a gift for helping people, and now you can help people across the entire galaxy. I would never ask you to give that up. Will you be all right without me here? Hanbin laughed. Minji, you taught me to stand on my own feet. Literally. I will miss you terribly, but I will be fine. Besides, you will visit between assignments, and I can come visit you sometimes. I am the Crown Prince. I have diplomatic responsibilities, too. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. Do you remember the first day we met? Minji asked. You were sitting by the window, watching others fly. You looked so sad. I remember. I thought my life was over, that I would spend forever in that room, useless and forgotten. Look at you now. Crown Prince, inspiration to thousands, one of the best flyers in the Royal Guard. Look at you, Hanbin countered. Ambassador, founder of Medical Revolution, honored across 3 galaxies. We have both come far from that first day. We came far together, Minji corrected. I could not have done any of this without you. You believed in me when I was just a maid. You trusted me when I had a crazy idea about simple exercise helping a draconian prince. And I could not walk or fly without you. You gave me hope when I had none. You showed me that limits are just challenges waiting to be overcome. 3 months later, Minji stood in the Grand Coalition Assembly Hall. Representatives from 500 worlds filled the chamber. She wore formal robes marking her new position as ambassador for medical advancement. It felt strange and wonderful at the same time. Emperor Taeyong presented her to the assembly. Ambassador Minji of Earth has revolutionized rehabilitation medicine. Under her guidance, 50 new centers will open across the coalition. Millions of beings will receive care that was previously unavailable. She represents the best of what our coalition can achieve when we learn from each other, when we value wisdom from all sources, regardless of how primitive or advanced the source may seem. The assembly applauded. Minji gave a short speech about her vision for the future of medicine, about combining the best of all civilizations, about never giving up on patients, no matter how hopeless their situation seemed. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Minji found herself surrounded by officials wanting to discuss her work, physicians asking questions, journalists requesting interviews. It was overwhelming but exciting. Hanbin found her during a quiet moment. He had come to the summit as part of the Draconian delegation. He was learning statecraft from his father, preparing for the day he would be emperor. Congratulations, ambassador, he said with formal bow, but his eyes were warm with friendship. Thank you, your highness, she replied, matching his formality but smiling. They slipped away from the reception to a quiet observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see Earth floating in the distance, a blue and white marble against the black of space. My home, Minji said softly, looking at her planet. It seemed so small from here, so insignificant, but it produced the ideas that changed the empire. Size does not determine significance, Hanbin said. Earth is small, yes. Humans are weak compared to many species. But you have something that many advanced civilizations lost. You have determination, creativity, the refusal to accept impossible. Those qualities are worth more than size or strength. Is that the official position of the Crown Prince? Minji asked teasingly. It is my personal observation, based on evidence. Hanbin smiled. One human made change my life, change my empire, change medicine across 3 galaxies. If one human can do that, imagine what humanity will achieve in the future. We will achieve it together, Minji said. Humans and draconians, and all the other species of the coalition. We are stronger together than apart. Agreed. They stood together, looking out at the stars. 2 years ago, Hanbin could not walk. Minji was a servant with no prospects. Now he was crown prince, and she was ambassador. They had achieved the impossible together. Somewhere in the rehabilitation center on Draker Prime, a young patient took their first steps. On Earth, Kyungsu walked without assistance for the first time in his life. On 50 worlds across 3 galaxies, construction began on new medical centers. The impossible was becoming routine, and it all started because a human Maid refused to believe that a dragon prince was broken. She saw someone who needed help, and she offered it. Simple as that. One act of kindness. One moment of belief. One refusal to accept impossible. That was a human way. That was why the galaxy was learning to respect Earth and its people. Not because humans were the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but because they never gave up. They found solutions where others saw only problems. They offered hope where others saw only despair. Hanbin looked at Minji, his friend who had given him everything. "Thank you," he said simply, "for seeing me when others looked away, for believing when others gave up, for showing me that wings are not just for flying, but for dreaming." Minji smiled. "Thank you for trusting me, for working hard even when it hurt, for proving that determination can overcome any obstacle. You taught me that too." In the distance, a transport ship left Earth, carrying more humans to the stars. Each one carried with them the same stubborn hope that Minji had brought to Draker Prime. Each one ready to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. The Dragon Emperor's son had learned to walk and fly. The human Maid had become an ambassador. The impossible had become possible. And this was only the beginning of what they would achieve together. These two unlikely friends from two very different worlds, united by hope, determination, and the simple belief that nothing is truly impossible if you refuse to give up. The stars shone above them, infinite and welcoming. The future stretched ahead, full of challenges and opportunities. Together, they would face it all. Together, they would continue making the impossible possible. Together, they would show the galaxy that true strength comes not from technology or power, but from the courage to believe and the determination to try. The story of the Dragon Prince and human, Maid, would be told for generations, on 1,000 worlds, in 100 languages. It would inspire countless others to believe in themselves, to push past their limits, to achieve their own impossibilities. And that, more than any title or honor, was the greatest achievement of all,